And this is Supervisor Richard Forster. We're going to slow the pace down a little bit, but I like that program. Teaches a level of respect and teaches people how to be young gentlemen and ladies, and you can't dance with sagging pants like that, so better get used to it. At our Board of Supervisors meeting on February 12th, 2013, we had first up on Public Matters, Terry Sanders, our new Veteran Service Officer, was in to greet the board and introduce himself. Terry's a great guy. He really showed himself above the class in the interviews, and really will be a good Veteran Services Officer, replacing Floyd Martin, our retired officer. And Floyd is 100% in favor of Terry and behind him, bringing the office fully up to automation and to putting everything on the computer, which is what the Veteran Services officers want at the federal level. At the Board of Supervisors meeting, first up, we had two items that were pulled from the agenda. This happens occasionally when either items are not ready to go or when a speaker cannot make it. Susan Manning was going to present on APAL Humane Society feral cat spay, neuter, trap, neuter, and release, or trap, spay, and neuter, and release program. She was unable to make it, so that item will come back on February 26th. And then on the administrative agency, we were going to have an update on our budget for the 2013-14 budget. It's not looking rosy again, but on preliminary projections, but that's just what they are, preliminary. And our CAO, Chuck Eiley, will need to bring that back because he had a little glitch in his numbers, so that will come back more than likely on February 26th. On the regular agenda, we had Mark Borchin come in from the Chamber of Commerce in Amador County. Mark presented previously for a funding request. The board did fund him with $10,000 out of the line item for chamber funding and $10,000 out of a contingency line. He had asked for $25,000, and the board had some issues with some of his numbers because they were not explained properly. He did put together additional information on those numbers. The primary one being the increase in salaries that went from the 11-12 of $26,000 up to $45,000. Most of that was for bringing in a new part-time employee and for a $250 a month salary increase for the Chamber Executive Director. That was the majority of the increase. There were some other small areas that primarily were due to supply costs and things like that. But with that, the board felt comfortable in funding the Chamber. That extra $5,000 will come out of the board line item. And I'll give you some history. The reason the board feels more comfortable is the Chamber is back on its feet. It is operating correctly. It is doing what it needs to do for business to succeed in the county. On the other hand, they are respecting the roles of the sister agency, Amador Council on Tourism. So Council on Tourism, as they should, are concentrating on tourism. Chambers concentrating on business, but they are working together on things, discussions now between the two executive bodies of the organizations on working together, or a bigger role working together on the fair booth. We had another discussion on gun control. This was primarily brought back on the agenda, and it had to be voted as a reauthorization to come back on the board. You need the one of the four voting in favor of the original motion to bring it back on the agenda. That was done. Supervisor Boitano wanted to give his 2 cents on this. He was not at the first meeting where this was discussed. And he talked about the Second Amendment rights and preserving those. All of the board members feel that way. We did have a speaker that talked about the county actually authorizing the right to carry in our county. You know, a big part of that would be the sheriff and his feelings on that issue, but our sheriff has chimed in with a letter which the speaker cited to federal authorities, basically stating black and white, here's the way it is, and he wasn't trying to antagonize, but he was just stating facts, the way the situation is, and protection of those Second Amendment rights. Our speaker also talked about the protection of personal information. When a person takes out a concealed weapon permit, they are signing a form that says right on it that it is a public document. You know, in a lot of cases, this has happened in Calaveras County, happened on the East Coast. That information probably should not be public. So we're looking at that and have asked our county council to look at that issue in the future. On the actual issue of the gun control, every board member spoke on it. We spoke about the idiocy going on in Sacramento with the statements made by our Speaker of the Senate, Darrell Steinberg, about he believes in the Second Amendment rights of citizens, but then he goes on to support 5 or 6 measures to actually restrict the Second Amendment rights of citizens. So, you know, if these people, if Sacramento wants to do it, if the mayor of San Francisco, the mayor of Los Angeles want to take away the rights of their citizens to keep and bear arms, then let them do it. But stay out of our territory, and they just don't seem to get that. We also, after reaffirming our resolution on the Second Amendment rights, we also, Supervisor Neto sponsored a thought for the next meeting to look at the El Dorado County resolution of Second Amendment rights and craft that to be more in line with Amador County, so that will come back in the future. Amador Fire State Council, Kathy Coos-Brazell was in and talked about the Pine Grove Community Conservation Wildfire Protection Plan. This comes up every year. This is through Title III funding that comes from the federal government. These are payments in lieu of forest receipts that come to our counties. Now, if you don't understand that, it's basically a long story. When the spotted owl controversy happened and they started shutting down logging on the federal forest lands, those were receipts, but they also affected private grounds. So those were receipts that came into the county. We no longer get those, so they started this in lieu of payment program for dollars to come back into the county. Those keep getting lower every year. Eventually, the federal government will not be paying us for any of that, so we're still going to be suffering the effects. But the board did approve that plan after consultation with Ms. Brazell and our consultant, John Hoffman, on natural resource issues. And this is Supervisor Richard Forster, 223-6470 at the board office. We're going to break right now.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.